Okay, next we have Jared.
Thanks, Ricky. Yeah, I want to close by, I guess, answering the question of what could we, see done in our next 2 years reelected in my case. I'd, like to continue the work of everyone that's in front of me with the community longhouse. Seeing that through, we're close on that. Like I mentioned earlier, the convalescent center, and then I'd like to focus on the youth. We always talk about our elders and our youth. I think everyone has. So continuing that, looking at getting some more things done for it. I know right now the staff's working on the with the Calric and Junior Foundation for doing the improvements to the ball field, Nespelem there. So that's one thing that should be done. I know we've been looking at some things like Deej mentioned, the basketball courts, addressing those and getting them updated. And that's not, and I want to include Nespelem also down here at the dam because there's not a lot we do for our youth down here at the dam as well. So looking at what we can do for maybe a potential indoor facility. I know basketball court time at the gym is really hard to come by, even at the middle school and down here. So looking at another option of another building potentially and weight room. Again, these are just things we're looking at in the future. Also, just talking about, our tribe in general, around election time, a lot of negativity kind of gets out there. I like to always take a positive approach and all the great things we've done. I think we've done a great job with our numbers of COVID. We've kept them very low, and we have lost a few people, and every loss hurts no matter what. But I think we've done a great job at minimizing impacts to our tribe. We've all came together when we needed to. I know there's been curfews at times had to put on place, and I get ridiculed from people that we weren't doing enough by even doing the curfews. But I told them, well, just hang tough. Let's see how these work. Let's see how, if we need to do more, we can. But even that is, for me, is taking away people's rights to a degree when you're putting them on a curfew. So I didn't want to do any more than we had to do unless we had to do it. I think it worked well. I think we kept a lot of people from getting sick or worse. Done a lot of great things at the tribe, saving money, coming out well after this pandemic. I think we're even looking better here into the future. I'd like to focus on obviously the stuff we've been doing in natural resources. Fish are the biggest thing for our tribe, I think, and getting them back and continuing the work that others have done and into the future with getting fish passage seen and done, and getting them back up towards Kettle Falls and up to Canada again to our relatives to the north. We've done a great thing. We've won our Sinaiks case. Everyone heard about that. There's a lot of good things we're doing, a lot of other litigation stuff we can't always speak about, but a lot of great things we've been doing at the tribe, and I just want to continue that work and see some of them through. So thank you very much.
All right, next we had Eddie.
So one of the things I would like to see happen more, and I'm not sure, I know I've talked about this with my supervisor, but working with Ferry County to ensure that our road systems for our tribal members to and from work are up and maintained a little better. 2 years is a short time span, to get something going. So, but that's one of the things, I'd like to try and see happen more on a regular basis is a better maintenance program on some of these roads. Not just for our tribal members, but for the public in general. And then, you got to see what the community here wants. I've heard different thoughts, more housing, smaller houses for some of the community members here. Obviously that'll take longer than 2 years, but actually getting out there and seeing what does this community want? And it's not just for this community, it'll be every community. Every community wants something a little different. But 2 years is obviously not long enough to get a lot of things done, but, just to start getting out there and earning their trust again, like some of the guys were saying, the membership is not very happy with how things are going. So, it's a big deal for everybody that's running. Yeah, you're going into a cage right now where council is not liked, so, you better be prepared to deal with them consequences. But, to gain that trust is one of the biggest things we got to work on. So I guess that's communication is one of the biggest things here for me.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. Next, we have Randy.
Hello, thanks. One thing I think I can do for my district in a 2-year term. So one of the things that I decided early on when I was running is kind of my slogan, I guess, is to bring integrity, honesty, and the voice of the people to the council table. Previously, I've heard in the past, once a council member gets elected, they don't necessarily need to hear from the people anymore. They're elected, that's their job. Don't make it difficult. I don't agree with that. I think we have to maintain communication with our membership, with the people. The other thing that I think I could bring, I worked with Charles Dayton. He was part of Action Strategy, which is a strategic planning company or person. So one of the coolest things I saw was he had me helping as a facilitator at the time with the tribal council. And he would ask a question, and this is something I would ask, is if you were being interviewed by Indian Country today, 1 year from now, what would you say that was accomplished in that past year? So I could tell you what I think might be important, but to really find out what's important to the district, I would put that question out there. So 1 year from now in the Nespelem district, what would we have accomplished? Looking forward 2022 to now, what would we have gotten done? And that would determine what the priorities are, whether that's, 1 priority, 2 or 3 priorities. Let's see. I guess the other thing is, one thing that I had kind of set up as a Fish and Wildlife Director, I did a lot of work on fish passage over the years. And, anyway, I'll just throw this out there. I think one thing that could be done is increase salmon production in Lake Rufus Woods. That was set up and ready to go. I'm not sure if I don't think it took place as far as I know, but it really needs to. When you look at salmon production in our tribe and the waters that we have, passage through Chief Joe Dam is really not an issue, survival anyway. So juveniles or adults. Although there's been no formal studies, that's kind of what we found with the informal studies. So Chief Joe Hatchery produces about 3 million salmon a year. We can increase our production at below Chief Joe Dam by putting fish above Chief Joe Dam. Those fish could then be used in turn for future passage up above Grand Coulee Dam. And thank you both for doing this. And, you did a great job facilitating and keeping it professional. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Aaron.
All right. So currently I'm involved in some projects for the OMAC district as well as projects in other districts. And so my hope is that, or what I will continue to work on if reelected for this next term, is to make sure that the OMAC clinic funding is in place by the fall so that construction can start right away. The tribe was approved for a joint venture construction project award, and what that means is that the federal government, the IHS has approved the OMAC clinic for 20 years of staffing funding. And so finding the funding to actually construct the facility is the next big step. And so I'm hoping that with the current funding that was approved through the American Recovery Plan, that we can use some of that funding to pay for that project. We have next in the hopper the OMAC Head Start facility. The Office of Head Start has awarded the tribe 1.6 million for a OMAC Head Start facility, and that construction project needs to start within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm hoping that we can get that started and completed relatively quickly. We just completed a new business plan for the OMAC Wellness Center. That's probably another year or so down the road. So I'm hoping that we can get all the necessary steps done to get that project to the next phase of construction. One of the projects that we're working on really quickly to try and get funding for through the ARP funding source is a OMAC senior mill site. The OMAC seniors haven't had an actual working facility in quite some time. We've been moved around to different facilities. And so what we did was we set aside a small parcel in the area where the OMAC Head Start and Clinic and Wellness Center will be built. And so we're hoping that that project can get up and running. At the same time that the OMAC Senior Mill Site facility is, that we're planning it, we're also working with Insulum to make sure that they get a new senior mill site. They're the only other community that is lacking for a new facility. Next, we're working on a new facility for the Boys and Girls Club in OMAC. All the other districts have Boys and Girls Clubs. We don't. We were told we had to find our own funding for our projects in OMAC. And so for the OMAC Wellness Center, we found separate funding for the business center or the business plan for that project. And so we're looking for funding for the Boys and Girls Club. And then I've continued to support projects in the other districts. So I will continue to support the Nespelem Community Center, Longhouse, and encampment area renovations, as well as the Convalescent Center. The Keller Treatment Center should be completed in the next 5 to 6 weeks. So that will be a huge project. And I really hope that it is successful. I don't know if you all know that my late husband had an addiction problem and OD'd. And so I've got a lot of family that are impacted by drugs. And so having a treatment facility will be really, really helpful. The problem I see is that it's not as big as I would like it to be, but it's a start. And so I'm really supportive of that project. I know that the Insulum district is working on a new wellness center also, and I've been supportive of that, so I will continue to support all of these projects. In terms of other areas in my district, I really hope that we can have further discussions with regard to cleaning up East OMAC. There is a lack of housing. There's a lack of professional housing as well as low-income housing. And for the clinic, we're going to need more health professionals in the area to staff that clinic. And so creating more professional housing in the OMAC area would definitely be something that we need to look at, and we need to make sure that we're addressing that need. And having more housing in Eastside and cleaning it up would be really good. For the Nespelem district, what's interesting is that I've looked at how we can go about cleaning that town up. That's, the headquarters for the tribe. And I really would like to see how we can clean it up, how we can maybe make sure that there are sidewalks on all the blocks, and the roads are redid so that they're not like they are now. The plus to the current condition of the roads in the town of Nespelem are that you can't do a lot of speeding, so that's the only plus I see. But I think that that same can be said for the Insulum and Keller districts, where, like Eddie said, transportation is huge. and, you know, making sure that we're moving towards